What's up, everybody? I'm AD.
And I'm Sharee, and welcome back to episode 7 of In Between the Lines.
Between the Lines. Come on.
IBL, we're on a mission. Controversial discussion. From family addition to money to marriage and it's FJ. In between the lines.
Girl, yes, we're gonna talk about it all. Family, blended family, how hard it was for us to blend together. We're gonna talk about money. We're even gonna talk about emotional affairs, girl. I can't wait.
And I'm excited. Pray that you all and hope that you all enjoyed the last episode. Man, we're on a roll here.
Yeah, we really are.
We're on a roll
We're
here.
not stopping.
We're not.
Despite some of you wanting us to stop. No, I'm joking.
That's why I love you.
I know we're talking about topics that maybe you're not used to the church or pastors or those that call themselves Christians talking about. But I think it's important. We both think it's very important to discuss these taboo topics and to normalize it, right? Like,
yeah, I agree.
I think it's important to normalize some of the things that we kind of just, we hide away from. We tend to like be ashamed to talk about, and it's on our heart that people don't suffer in silence.
Yeah.
So we've been dealing a lot with the marriage, but our ministry is geared towards families.
Yes.
And so
that's our brand.
and so our
If we
whole
have a
journey
brand.
with IBL is going to really, really, really dig into the family dynamics and
Yeah.
all of those things that touch and even intersect into the system of family.
The system of family. That's who we are. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And I think from all the testimonies that we're getting, the authenticity is because we're being ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're using our life stories.
And it ain't perfect. We said
Say it again, babe.
It ain't perfect.
Come on.
God has brought us through so much.
So
And I
much.
think even the timing of us talking about these things is very strategic. We
Yeah.
couldn't talk about these things 10 years ago because we were still, to some degree, going through some of this stuff.
I
right?
agree. Yeah.
And but now we are, going on 19 years.
Yeah.
We've got some distance and we got some victory. Not some, a lot of victory over what was, I believe, sent to take us out.
Yeah.
And so, there's many families that folded under very similar situations
Yeah.
that we've gone through
Yeah.
as a family and as a married couple. And so if you guys can learn from our wins and our losses through our transparency, that's the success of IBL.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I think because of really having the pit bull tenacity, mainly you, to be honest. I mean, obviously I have a little bit because it's, we
You
both.
gotta be a pit bull to deal with a pit bull. Not too many dogs that can beat a pit bull, except for Nikita. It's negotiable, though. Debatable.
Just,
I'm sorry.
listen, the pit bull tenacities. Honestly, and to be honest with you, the only way that you're going to fail or lose is if you quit.
Man,
right? The only way you're going to fail or lose is if you quit. And your circumstances and situations and the things that you are going through as a married couple, if you let them, they will take you out. They will end.
Yeah.
They will end what your haters want to. You know what I'm saying? Don't want to see. You know what I mean? They don't want to see you
Win.
succeed. They don't want to see you win. You got family members that don't want to see you win.
Yeah, and it could come from very unintentional places. A lot of times we want our family members to quit because we don't want to see them go through pain. Right. And I get that. And I'm not, and let me qualify this as well. Like, we're not talking about like physical abuse pain. We're talking because run. But get out. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about in the context of things that you can overcome.
Yeah.
Right. Things that it may seem like I just don't even know how I'm going to get out of this situation. Outside of your life being in danger, we try to encourage couples to fight it out.
Yeah. But you also have family members that don't want to see you win because they're jealous. It's that too. I was really talking about that.
Oh, you're talking about that.
I was really talking about that because that's real talk too.
That's real talk. And family. Listen, like, and jealousy is like a real thing. We need to actually do an episode on jealousy because it's a thing and it happens in marriages and families. And it becomes, matter of fact, we did a teaching on jealousy, on the spirit of jealousy.
That was really good.
And the symptoms to diagnose it and the tools to beat it. So
yeah.
I had a season where I was just jealous of someone. Did you know that?
No.
I know.
You didn't expose that one, sweetie?
I did.
To me?
No.
Of the person?
No, I ain't supposed to the person. I supposed the way God had
No,
me.
you didn't expose the person to me. You didn't tell me who it was.
Oh, yeah. And I was more jealous. It wasn't like I wanted to be the person. You ever see somebody like you feel like they live in your life? You're like, that's my house. You're like, that's my ministry. That's my whatever platform.
As long as it wasn't, and they were dealing with an ex.
Huh? No. But I'm just saying, like sometimes you can see somebody living your life. You know what I'm saying? And you still like trying to get there, and you fall into comparison and things like that, and it's a very dangerous.
But your life, in the end, your life. Not knowing may be 20 times better.
Listen, I already know it is, but I'm just saying, like in the middle, in the making of it, in the wilderness, you know, you can look to the left and be like, what they doing over there? You know,
I hear you.
It's a distraction. But let's come back. So I do have a random question.
Here we go.
My random question is, are you okay with my random questions?
I am okay with your random question after
the episode.
You tell me say what it is. So I'm not okay with your random question. But I'm okay with it when it's safe.
What do you think? I'm just going to ask you like
no one knows what's going to come out of your mouth.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
Listen, do y'all think I need to be censored?
No. I didn't say that either. So don't put in the comments, y'all, leave her alone, because that ain't what I'm saying.
I do need to be censored. I need to be reeled in. Because I am so transparent.
Well, I pause you all the time for that.
I am so transparent and just so real. Like, I don't know. I just feel I can't stand fake. People are suffering. Heck, I was suffering, and you can't tell people your struggles. Everybody got put on mask. I ain't putting on no mask no more.
No mask.
And we don't have to put on mask. I just feel I don't know, y'all. I'm not doing it to be odd. It is who I am, and I do have to mind where I'm transparent at. But I feel like on IBL, it's like as long as I stay in between the lines.
As long as we're in between,
we're good.
The lines, we're good. Man, we got a hot topic today.
Yeah, but before we get to our hot topic, y'all notice we got the black on. The black on black on black on black.
They ain't ready.
The black on black on black.
They ain't ready.
Yeah, the black on black is hot.
Karen, we'll see you this week.
Yeah, we got to get Karen her sweatshirt.
Yeah.
So no, this will be next week. So it'll be next week, but we'll get it to her.
Karen, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. So y'all like the black on black? I don't know. I'm thinking it's like a tie between the black on black, and the white on white. The white is popping.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like the contrast of our complexions or whatever. But anyway.
Random question.
Oh, you have a random question now?
That was your random question?
Yeah, that was my random question.
Do I like your random questions? I can't.
I had it, but it slipped away. And so
all right,
it must be the tiredness.
Well, we got a topic though.
We got a topic for y'all.
Yeah. Listen, before we get started, we would need you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, and please share the link. Hit the icon so that you can stay connected to all the latest updates and all the latest news. We got some new stuff that's getting ready to come out. We got all kinds of stuff that we get ready to do. So
we're about to go live, y'all. About to go live. We're going to do some Q&A on Facebook Live, so stay tuned for that. I'm really excited. So matter of fact, start thinking about some questions that you guys just want to ask us.
Respectful. Oh, y'all got to stay in between the lines too.
Right.
How about that?
Right.
All right, come on. Today we're going to talk about, babe, what are we going to talk about today?
So we have this topic of how boundaries lead to, let me start over. Lack of boundaries leads to emotional affairs.
Lack of boundaries.
Let me rephrase that.
I like that phrase. I like that.
Lack of boundaries can lead to emotional affairs.
Lack of boundaries
in marriages
can lead to emotional affairs.
And so this topic of emotional affairs, we might have to do a part 1 and a part 2.
Okay.
Because I don't think, first of all, I would love to identify and kind of define what when we say an emotional affair is, because someone can have a different perspective of emotional affair. And so I have this very general definition that says an emotional affair is different from other affairs, and when someone turns to another person who isn't their significant other for emotional support. Everybody needs support in their lives, including support outside marriage or relationships. But emotional affairs are an example of how and when looking outside the bounds, which is when we talk about boundaries, of relationship to meet certain needs can make and have an ugly turn. And so this is from a therapy. I like this term too. It says the term emotional affair describes a type of relationship between people. So we're talking about a type of relationship between a man and a woman and a man, and both are married or one of them is married, right? The term also often describes a bond between two people that mimics, here it is, or matches the closeness and emotional intimacy of a romantic relationship while not being physically consummated. So emotional affairs are classified emotional connections where your souls, I would say, are intertwined, because that's where your emotions lie.
Yep.
But there may not be any physical connection, or may not be. It is not a physical. So there's no sex. There's no anything physical in nature, but it's all emotional. Okay.
Yeah.
And let me just ask you this question. I feel like all affairs are damaging to marriages, but out of like emotional and physical, which, if some affairs are just straight sexual affairs, it doesn't really get into the relationship or the emotional aspect versus the emotional affair. What would you say which would be the most detrimental, in your opinion, to a marriage?
Physical or emotional?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. I think for me, it's equal.
It is equal. Excuse me.
I'm gonna say physical for me.
Versus emotional.
I'm gonna say physical for me. I think because for a long time I didn't understand emotional affair. I didn't like the concept.
Yeah.
Like I didn't understand it. I didn't get how it's an affair. Like I didn't understand any of that stuff. So it wasn't until sitting down and having conversations with you about boundaries and all these different things, then it was like, oh, I think I can see that. I understand why people say it and believe in that.
What, you just didn't believe in it? Like up until that
I just
point?
never thought about it.
Okay.
Never thought about
it. Wasn't a
because
term.
affairs to me growing up was you had sex with somebody.
Right. And that was it.
Yeah. So it wasn't until I become an adult, like later that you hear about I'm like, what's that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I remember when you guys first talked about your sister. You're talking about it, you and Leah, and I was just in the background like, I think they made that up. Like, because
me and Leah tend to make stuff up.
Constantly coming up with stuff like.
Let's talk about, even though we're talking about the impact or the consequence, I want to talk about, I have this, it's like seven symptoms of an emotional affair, or 7 identifications that you could be in an emotional affair. But before we get there, I want to talk about what leads to emotional affairs. And the first clue of an emotional affair kind of alludes to this. And I'll read it, and then we can talk about boundaries or lack thereof
on each one, or
just this one. And so here's one. It says the work spouse. There's an emotional affair called the work spouse. You ever heard people say that's my work spouse?
This is my first time ever hearing that.
They say, I don't know if y'all work in corporate America or anywhere you've heard that term put. I've heard of it. I've definitely heard of that. And yes, my work wife, my work spouse.
What?
Yes,
that's demonic.
And They saying it funny, like, oh, that's my work wife because she always bring me breakfast, or that's my work husband because I don't know. And some of them are very platonic in nature, but people that become friends. So the work spouse, here's an example, is a special initially platonic relationship. Initially platonic, listen to that part. Relationship that comes along with privileges such as flattery and validation. So being flattered and validated is a privilege that you have in an intimate relationship. Increased attention and dependence on work spouses are commonplace. So, and may even be well known throughout the office. Everyone knows it, and their respective marriages. So, like, it's like, oh yeah, Betty be hooking my husband up, honey. Like, she be bringing him lunch, and you really may not even think it's that big of a deal.
Right.
But from a boundary perspective, this is where I feel like if you're married, guys, and you don't have communicated boundaries in how you handle the opposite sex, you more than likely have or will cross boundaries, right? And so now boundaries for your marriage may look different than ours. We're pastors, we're leaders in the church, we both work. I work in corporate America. So we interact with people pretty much every day, all day. And some of them are the opposite sex. Most of them are, right? Like of the opposite sex that we're interacting with. And so very early on in our marriage, I would love to talk about some of our things that we did and realized like this is not healthy. Yeah. That got us into some hot water, right? Into with each other. Yeah. And so let's just kind of get a little black and white here.
And destroy relationships
and trust, right? And so one of the things that we do now is that we don't like, okay, so if it's someone from our church or someone, we tend to, if it's a male, then I'll let Arnold deal with that person. If it's a female, and then, or we like group chats, right?
Right. And
it really started, a lot of the friction, I think, between us started with your your daughter's mom, right? Mm-hmm. And me saying to you, I need to be involved in those conversations. Right? And or aware of them, because it was A, getting really toxic, B, it affected me in a big capacity. And there was a lot of these conversations that were being had on the phone or through text that I wasn't aware of. And let's talk about that, because that wasn't as easy. It wasn't as like, it wasn't like, hey babe, I'm thinking that I should be included in these group texts, and you be like, yeah, no problem, I agree with that, and then I was automatically included in all the group texts. Like, it took some time. So I want to kind of interview you here. Like, what do you feel what do you feel the challenge was for you to automatically just like include me into some of those text groups?
Well, it was never a challenge.
Okay. All right.
It wasn't a challenge. I didn't think I
had to.
I didn't think I had to, but I'll tell you why.
I want to talk about it.
All right. So I didn't think I had to, because all these years I was never included whenever you talk to Kendall.
And now, in context, Kendall is my son's father.
Yes.
And so, right. So you're saying like I kind of demonstrated how we were going to handle our children's parents.
Yeah, but I didn't have a problem with it either. Okay. Right? Because I understand why we should have a group text, mm-hmm. and we encourage every married couple that is in our shoes, but I trust you. Mm-hmm. So I didn't think I needed to be in a group text, you know what I mean? And so that's because that's what, kind of like what was going on.
Yeah.
I didn't think anything of it. So it wasn't a challenge. I just felt like it wasn't necessary because we weren't doing that anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then when I brought it to your attention and said, hey, like I want to start being in these, because one of my reasons, y'all may say, well, why did I want to be involved? I want to be involved, number one, because I'm nosy and I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on, that's why. And so ain't deep. Sometimes it ain't deep, right? And so that's one. Okay. And I don't like being blindsided.
I love you so much, yo. You crazy, yo. Yo, you're crazy.
I'm blind. I don't like being blindsided by stuff. And here's the main reason. The main reason was I felt, I need to lock my foot under yours. So I felt that there was a lot of foolishness going on. And a lot of, there are certain things that only a woman can check another woman on.
That I agree.
And vice versa. There are only certain things that a man, there were times where he would get involved with my son's father and it was like, boom, like he would get on the phone and be like, this is what it is, blah, 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 don't do that. And it was just like, it settled it. It's like, period. And so there was a lot of back and forth and it was just a whole bunch of foolishness and stupidity happening where I was like, no, I need to be involved in that because A, she don't talk to me like that. B, like, you're a liar and I'm gonna call it out. You know what I'm saying? And so I was trying to hinder a lot of the unnecessary conversations, friction, misunderstandings. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to be involved in those text threads. And that's it. I mean, and I just felt like it was a boundary that we needed to have, you know, especially at that time. I just felt like it was a boundary we should have had.
I agree.
And we should, if we were mature enough, listen, if y'all are about to get in a relationship, before you get married, set these standards. Like, and even if husband or soon to be husband, even if you always communicated with your baby mom, just you're now bringing in a significant other and her presence is relevant and it matters, and the two shall become one. Right. And that person don't have to like it or not, like really, because in the beginning she didn't like it. She matter of fact, she got smart with you and said, well, I ain't had no baby with her. And I said,
she sure did.
She did. And I said, you're right, but I'm paying for her. So I want to know.
Wait, fix that line. I'm paying for her.
I'm helping to pay for this child too. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm taking her to school. I'm, you know, not just Arnold, like in our household, it's 2-parent household. And so
we rock
like together.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just if Arnold was just taking care of her and there was no input from my side, then okay, but we don't parent that way.
No.
And since at the time she was living with us, you know, I want to be involved in these conversations to fully know what's going on, to ask the necessary questions that he may not have thought of. And so it was friction in the beginning, and I understand why, because she's like, I've been doing this with you for years. Right. And then you would just kind of tell me what the conversations were. And now we're all of a sudden setting a standard. That's why I said set the standard early. Right. So that person don't feel blindsided.
I agree.
Right. And we had to end up explaining. I think I did the same thing with his father too, because I ended up putting you in a group chat. His father was overseas, but in WhatsApp, remember?
Yeah, in the WhatsApp.
Yeah, and so I ended up.
That was years later.
Yeah,
but
it all was years later.
I mean, after that situation.
Yeah,
but that's not the first time I heard that. Was something you said was very key, very powerful. That there are certain things only a woman can check another woman a certain way or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the dynamic of what you were bringing to our table so that we can exist in this space together and show even her that we're one. This is how we rock. We're one. And we cover one another. That's not the first time I heard that. My friend, best man in our wedding, Damian Wing, their son, his oldest son, mm-hmm. he had a very similar situation, and his wife was in position. He put his wife in position to handle all the phone calls, all the affairs. Matter of fact, don't talk to me no more. If you want to talk to me, you talk to her. And everything ceased.
Well, because that's what I'm saying. Like, she's not going to, number one, like women don't want to look petty in front of another woman. Like, we want to be like, oh, I don't even care about him. But then there's just another demonstration or presentation that they may have. And it might be the other way around as well, right? And so, like, a man may act different with the person that he had a child with versus the husband. And so, I don't know. Some people agree with this. Some people don't. I'll say this. For our family, we set those kind of boundaries, right? And so we didn't just set the boundaries with our kids' parents, parents, we also said it with the opposite sex, period, especially in leadership.
Yeah.
And so we come to know that, especially when we started pastoring very young, we took over a church very young, in my opinion, very young in the ministry as well. We were still learning a lot.
Yes.
And everybody had our numbers. All the men had mine, all the women had Arnold's.
Yeah.
We was getting calls all day, every day. That's one boundary we needed to set. Like, this is our hours that were available. These are the days we're not. And we learned very quickly that some of those conversations with broken people turn very uncomfortable very fast.
Yeah.
And so we got caught in some really odd conversations, and I'm on the phone with a guy that's 26, and he's talking about, struggling sexually, and I'm like, oh wait, whoa, whoa. I'm transparent, but I'm not your parent. Like, I didn't want to be caught in that conversation by myself with him. Right? This is real rap. And, or you get in a conversation with somebody and they talking about they ain't been with their husband for a long time. And,
right.
Boo, my husband don't need to know that you ain't been with your husband for a long time. Okay? Right. So there are things that, that could go left. You know what I'm saying? That could open up doors for very strange conversations. So very early on, we said, all right, change our numbers. We changed our numbers, and then I got all the women, you got all the men. And then we said, that doesn't mean you don't have access to us, but that just means that the way you have access to us is together.
It has to change, yeah.
And it has to change.
Yeah.
And a lot of the women, the men were fine. A lot of the women, we got 2 people to leave the church. Some of the women didn't like that because they were used to, but go ahead.
No.
They were used to having direct access to him, and it started getting very unhealthy.
Yeah.
To where one member, I remember she kept asking for your number, and you were like, we're not giving you our number. This is
our new numbers.
Our new numbers is what we're doing. You have, my wife's number, but if you want to sit down and talk to us, that's fine. We can still interact the same way. And that individual was very upset. And I remember during that conversation, I had to end up getting like some elders involved because I confronted her several times on her response. And there was an unhealthy perspective that developed in her mind on what even your role was as a pastor.
Yeah. But that's part of the boundary part too. Right. And so let's bounce around a little bit.
Okay.
If I can go there.
Yeah.
And so in that case, as a pastor, young, what thought I was doing the right thing was, and I did this with everybody, was just, hey, I'm here for you. X, Y, and Z, in a pastoral way. And that particular person, like my wife said, and you actually helped me see it because I didn't see a lot of stuff. I didn't see it because I'm just friendly with everybody. I'm just talking to everybody.
There was a lot you didn't see in the beginning.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it. Mm-hmm. So then me saying those things to this particular female, it created, as my wife said, in her own mind, probably just life. I don't know what it was.
I don't know. Maybe I was married with kids. I don't know.
Right. And so, once the phone number was stripped and we started putting order, I remember when we announced it.
Yeah.
And I went down in the basement, the cafe, to go get something, and there were people down. And when I got down there, she came down. I don't know if she came down or she was there. Either one. So she says to me, so are you going to give me your phone number or not? And I went right upstairs and told you. Like,
and see, this is where... Oh, Jesus.
Stay in between the line, baby.
It ain't no
Do
one.
your thing, babe.
The fact that we still pastor and we have not ruined our reputation by pushing somebody down the steps. I'm telling you, I know there's a God. Because I didn't. You know what I'm saying? And I just find some of the actions of people, even in church, some of the most disrespectful actions ever.
Unbelievable.
And I feel like we handled that well. You know, I still went to her. I tried to educate her. I tried to explain why these behaviors are inappropriate. They're out of line. They're disrespectful to me. If I'm telling you can't have my husband's number and you still going to my husband asking for his number, to me, this is an exposure of something else is going on here, right?
Absolutely.
And so I remember even saying to her, like, she's like, well, what will happen if my car breaks down and, you know, I need, you know, basically Pastor Arnold to come help. And I said, well, my car breaks down, I'm calling AAA. And you should do the same. And then I'm going to call. Like, my husband is not, wait, what kind of role do y'all think the pastor does? Like, he preaches, teaches, casts out devils, does counseling, and come and change your tire? Like, I mean, I probably said it like that. So she left the church, and I understand that. But my whole thing is, it was our fault. I don't blame her.
Completely.
It was our fault.
Yeah.
I actually cried over that situation because it showed me.
And you tried to repair.
I tried to repair.
Yes.
Every year I try to repair it because I love this individual. But it was our fault. I take 100% of the responsibility of that situation because our boundaries were broken.
Well, I think also too
you deal as a pastor, you deal with broken people. You deal with people that have malign perspectives of what's healthy boundaries.
But you deal with broken people, and some of the boundaries that were crossed was from our own brokenness.
Right. And trying to, you know, validate and be validated, right? And it's like, in order to be validated, I gotta be there for you. I gotta really be there for you. You know what I'm saying? We move members in our houses. I mean, it was just, no, don't ever do that. Stop that. Don't do that. We gonna find you a shelter. We gonna find you a single member. But you know, we allowed 2 different members actually to come stay with us for an extended amount of time. We was paying people's electric bills. I mean, it was, and yes.
Don't do that.
Well, we do that now, but it's within the context.
Way.
Yeah, not us necessarily personally. And we'll talk about all those things because if there's a dependence on you, that it becomes very unhealthy.
Yeah.
And a reliance on you as a pastor that becomes very unhealthy.
Yeah. I think also too, like, let me back up because I think, you know, what I said before, like, you kind of helped me see, like, where even just boundaries, just conversations I may have been having with females, not thinking we're all in the same sanctuary. I'm pastoring, service is over, everyone's around. And my wife was like, don't get caught talking to females too long, if any, at all.
Right. It's going to be a problem because I need prayer on this episode because, like, listen, like, woo, Jesus. So, number one, let's you know, bring it in context. You know, don't let your good be evil spoken of. You know what I'm saying? If there is a repetition of the same person that you're having, me too, conversations with one-on-one, even in the confounds of a group, it looks weird.
Right.
And really anything over 3 to 5 minutes, we need to have a meeting.
Right.
This is the other thing, people of God, that your pastors don't have an hour just to talk to you after service. We're going to tackle everything. No. This is not the time for you to be like, I got a dream, you know, and the angels fell and then there was a drum beat, you know, like, no, that's not the time. Boundaries. This is not the time to tell your pastor their dream after service. After service is, hey, pastor, how's everything going? Hey, sister so-and-so, how's Bob?
Message
everything's good. You know, I do need to connect with you this week. There's some things that's on my heart.
I'll reach
out. Do you
out.
mind if we set up some time? So if you are a time stealer or someone that's just
what you call them?
a time stealer. We were backing up. Like be mindful. We tell our kids, turn on your indicator, read the room.
Right.
Like
don't let us catch your indicator broken.
Right.
Being broken.
And if you love your pastors,
I think I said that right.
Females, protect your male pastors.
Yeah.
Don't find yourself in compromising positions with them. Right. And so some of the things that we do is we don't find ourselves in one-on-one rooms with the opposite sex. Right. We don't do that. Right. So if we find ourselves, everybody on the left, and I'm looking around, is me and Joe. I don't know no Joe, but it's me and Joe. Hey, Joe, let's go out in the sanctuary. Or
Right.
is you and Becky, why? Because as soon as somebody comes in the room and you in the room with you and Becky, it looks weird.
It does.
It's like, what y'all doing?
It does.
And honestly, that's how things, you want me to slide over?
Yeah.
That's how things, that is how boundaries are crossed. So let's talk about this. How does boundaries connect to emotional affairs? I'm going to say lack of boundaries says that here's a boundary that you should, if you're married, you have no business talking to the opposite sex unless it's in a form of a counselor or pastor about issues with your husband.
Yeah.
Or wife.
Yeah. So no pastor, male or female, should be caught in a counseling session by themselves with the opposite sex. Absolutely. At all. Even if it's this is how detrimental it is. Even if it's surrounding a death. The meaning is, my mom died.
Oh, that's a shame. Let me go get my wife.
Right. Or husband.
Right. Oh, give me one moment. Let me go get. Honestly, there's safety in boundaries. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not your wife, if you grabbed another elder, or I could grab somebody, those are things that we tend to do. Those are boundaries that we set in place. Because the reality is, most people come to church when they are on the cusp or in the middle of a catastrophe.
That's true.
They're broken. They're vulnerable. They got a divorce. There was a death in the family, devastation, financially. Either way, there are a lot of people are in a vulnerable state. Mm-hmm. And intentionally or not, broken people can find themselves latching on to what's healthy. Right?
I agree.
And it may not be intentional. Not everybody, I believe, is like, I'm a Jezebel and I'm going to divide that husband and wife. I really don't believe that.
Right.
They out there.
Right.
But I don't believe that that's a lot of the attention. I believe that husband and wife didn't have healthy boundaries. This particular individual is broken, male or female. And then let's talk about one of the things that it says. It says, increase attention and dependency. And flattery and validation. So if you and I are not covering each other through compliments, encouragement,
I'm glad you brought that up.
validation, the things that we need to be seated, and I'm at work and I'm having conversations with a male such and such, and
who does it?
And it could be very unintentional. Like, Sharee, you were just dope. I just been watching you. You're just dope. That's going to be like, that can hit different. It could be like, oh. I mean, the first time I'd be like, oh, thank you, Bob. You know what I'm saying?
You would name him Bob.
I don't know, because somebody I don't know. Oh, thank you, Bob. But Bob keep doing that. And then, oh, you cooked? Oh, yeah, I made spaghetti. Man, I wish my wife would cook.
That's how it starts.
Am I lying?
Nope.
And so let's talk about you. Let's just jump into it. Let's talk about the lady that was making you lunch at the school.
So that was around that time that you actually explained to me what that was.
Did I know about it? It's probably my little prophetic side.
I told you.
Oh, okay. That's one thing about Arnold. He gonna tell me stuff. And sometimes I'd be like, I would cringe because I'm like, I can't believe he's telling me this. But I was happy.
I mean, we best friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
So listen. So there was this is early on in our marriage. The first 7 years, a lot of these stories are
first.
It probably like the first 4 years of our marriage.
Yeah.
Because you were working at Stubbs, and we was what? You was our supposed person. Her name was Becky. No, I'm joking. All right. So you were at the school. And the first 4 years of our marriage was hard, right?
Very.
So I'm trying to set the scene. It was very hard. I got pregnant right away, and I'm going to get real personal here with Christian. So that first year, we got married in March. I had Christian in October. Don't do the math. And then, so that I was pregnant, and then I got something called a IUD. And I did not get the non-hormonal IUD. I got the hormonal one.
Right.
And so the hormonal IUD, for 5 years, I had it. And basically, it releases a hormone tricking your body saying that you're pregnant. So emotionally, I acted pregnant for 5 years. And depending on what kind of pregnant person you are, that was crazy. When I'm pregnant, I the smell, remember, like his smell, like I just got turned off by the smell of him. I didn't like to be touched. Everything was irritating me. I was constantly nauseous. It was horrible. And so the first 5 years of our marriage, honestly, were sabotaged by this IUD. That was the demonic devil. But so that's the climax, right? I mean, that's the scene for y'all, okay? Yeah. And so Arnold's going to work. I'm going to work, you know. You probably was getting it maybe once a week. I don't know, if that. Hey, and so our conversations probably weren't very healthy. They were probably through frustration and agitation because it was just a lot going on. And now I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of set up how you feel like some of those interactions with this female were inappropriate.
Well, at first I didn't think it was inappropriate because, first of all, the way that
boundary crossing.
Okay, right, boundary crossing. So boundary crossing. So again, it wasn't until you exposed it to me, like that's an emotional affair type of thing. And so it all kind of like what you said, started innocent.
Yeah.
Like we're all like at some point would cross the hallway, the office area, and there was always food in there. Always food all the time. And so we would like grab food, eat food. Okay, you made this, I made this. Oh, I made this. You got to taste this. And it's like, oh, this is good. Not knowing who made it. It's like not knowing it's good, but this person offered me this. And so, oh, this is good. Okay. And then come to find out, she's like, oh, okay, I made this X, Y, Z.
You extra. Like my cooking. Go ahead.
So offered me some. Oh, I got more. Cool. It's just food. Like, okay, cool. But I don't remember getting the food again or anything like that nature. And so this is what I remember.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I remember knock on my door, come down. Oh, I made this.
Because you said you liked it. You don't like my acting.
Stop. So I was like, but it wasn't the same thing. It was something different.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and so I'm like, oh, this is good. Da, 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 da. And then next thing you know, I'm getting
it's
like
a thing.
2-3 times a week containers of lunch.
And you just eating it.
I'm going ham.
They ever make spaghetti?
No, because I don't eat everybody's spaghetti because I know the trick. I know the trick on spaghetti.
I'm just wondering. I'm just asking.
All right, anyway. So, and then next thing you know, from the food, the bringing the lunch, the conversations would start about the food, about the lunch. I had a picture on my desk of me and Cameron. And then, oh, this your son? Yeah, this is my son. Blah, 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 all this, And so we started talking about family stuff and different things. And it ended up just being bringing lunch 2-3 times a week to having conversation about family. And I found myself just talking and actually looking for the conversation.
Yeah.
You start looking.
Like, oh, Becky coming today. Oh, she's not here.
No, I wasn't doing that. But you're kind of looking for the conversation and kind of expecting the conversation. And then I told you because I was like, it did feel weird.
It started feeling weird.
It started feeling really weird because I think it was overdrive. It was too much. It was like, this don't usually happen at work.
Well, it usually does. That's what
I'm saying. You shouldn't feel like this at work.
Yeah. And he did tell me about it. That's one situation. And so that was cool because I'm going to talk about an area that I feel like inappropriate cross lines and how we cross those lines in a lot of times as even the definition said, like it's unintentional. Yeah. Like it's almost like this slow deterioration, and then you realize you're like, wait a minute, this is different. This is I'm stuck or this is odd. This relationship somewhere is crossed over from into an unhealthy place. And so I remember another situation, like Arnold was the type of person, he would talk to anybody, right? And so this was kind of like a funny story where I remember specifically this is when you were doing the summer programs, and because you sometimes would take the kids and at the park, and he was running like a summer program in the park. And I remember this, Arnold was coming home and he was talking about his boss who, he was witnessing to and having these conversations, or not a boss but a leader or manager at the temporary agency or something like that. And it was like weeks, and he would bring up the conversations. And I think at one point you even would mention like her name. And in the meantime, I'm listening, but like I'm getting more and more agitated. I don't even care. I don't care if she got saved. Like, it's just every time it came up, I just had this like an alarm went off within me, right? So at one point, he was like, yeah, I was telling her that you need to meet my wife. My wife can walk you through, some things spiritually, and I want her to pray for you. And you told me her response was like, oh, yes, I really want to do that. That's awesome. So this one time he was like, babe, I want you to come, to work with me to meet this individual. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like, I really wasn't feeling it. And so it was just, the whole thing was agitating. And so I went and we waited, and then the person shows up at the park. Now, mind you, before she even came to the park, we outside, I smelt the girl before she came. Like, that's how strong her perfume was. Oh. Right? So I don't know, maybe she didn't think I was going to be there. Anyway, so I'm like, it was smelling good. It was good smelling perfume. You know what I'm saying? But it was so strong. It was almost like she sprayed it before she came in the park. We outside. Why am I smelling you walking up the park? So that was my first red flag. And then, so the girl comes, I think she had to need you to sign the time card and all that. Mm-hmm. And then Arnold was like, oh, such person, this is, my wife. And she was like, oh, hi, how you doing? She's like, yeah, I don't really have time today. And just like walks off. Here's the crazy part. I remember talking to you about it. I said, I don't give a god darn if she getting saved or not. Like, this is not appropriate. You having these one-on-one conversations, right?
Yeah.
And then you were like, for the gospel I live, for the gospel I die. You wouldn't, get behind me, Satan. And I'm like, I'm gonna be more.
I wasn't like, get behind me.
No, you didn't say that, but that was kind of like the response. And then now at this point, because I discern her reaction, because girls, we know. So I was like, oh heck no, right? So I remember one time, I think she had called your phone. I don't know if I ever told you this. And because y'all used to talk on the phone and stuff, and I answered the phone. Yeah.
No, I didn't talk to her on the phone.
Oh, okay. Well, you just talked in person?
At the job, she came to the job for supplies. They dropped off supplies and stuff.
Okay, like but then y'all would have just conversations and stuff, talking about the Lord and stuff like that.
Yep.
Okay.
The ones I told you about.
No. And so, all right. Well, I don't know what. The phone rang and it was her. And so I picked up the phone. I said, unless you need him to sign a time card, please don't call his phone no more. Do you know I did that? Mm-mm. Yeah. And so, because the whole thing was just off. It was just weird. And then I think eventually you were like, yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Like, I don't know why she acted like that.
I didn't know. That's what I'm telling you. Like,
so I don't know why y'all. I mean, put this in the comments. Why do I feel like men are like?
Hold up, time out. Hold up, because there are times where it is very obvious a woman is hitting on you and flirting. It's obvious,
right?
But then there are some that women are just really sly and sneaky, and you got your kids out here. You're talking about your wife, and you don't know that they're coming around because they're still trying to. I'm blind to that at that moment.
Yeah, and okay, and
there was nothing what I think, there's nothing that was said on her end that made me even think or feel that at all, because it was always it was about, oh, you go to church. Somebody told her I went to church. All this type of stuff. It was those conversations, your kids, and so I didn't think enough of it. And then when she's telling me about all her stuff, her junk, in my mind, I'm like, yo, my wife is the person for you for this situation. So I'm trying to go reel this in so y'all could meet. So and I told you.
Yeah, she didn't want to meet me, honey. And so, anyway, that's just a small example, but
Right.
It is an example, husbands and or wives, even as we're forwarding the gospel, we have to be careful of discipling, in my opinion. Now, y'all might think I'm very traditional or old school, but I do feel like as a husband and a wife that you should bring your wife involved even in you discipling spiritually the opposite sex.
I agree.
And I listen, the enemy, people be like, oh, the enemy dumb. No, he's not. He's very smart. He's genius level strategist.
Yep.
And the crazy thing is that the tactics that the enemy uses against men of God, women of God has never changed. If I hear of another priest or pastor that done fell because, a woman, I'm going to scream.
Yeah.
Like, safeguard your life. Because really, that's what you're doing. Boundaries are in place to safeguard your life, your ministry, your legacy, your reputation, whether people like it or not.
Right.
And so, and a boundary is also something that you're not going to cross. You're going to say, because I do value my family, my wife, I respect, what we've built together. Here's a boundary that I'm not going to cross.
Right.
And listen, not everybody is unsafe. Most people are safe, but it be that one person that you forgo that boundary for, and now you find yourself in strange water.
Right.
And so this is why we are really, really careful about boundaries. I'll say this. Here's another boundary, and I'll say I've crossed this boundary in the past where, maybe it's a mutual friend and you find yourself having mutual space, and then maybe, I've vented about, you vent about your spouse to someone that you feel like is safe, right? Because maybe they know your husband and it's your husband's friend, which is a no, ladies. Like, we should not be venting to our husband's friends about our husbands.
Right.
And same, husbands, you should not be venting to your wife's friends, sisters, mothers, about your wife, right? Though that to me is a boundary you should not cross. But I did. And I remember it was a time where it was like mutual venting, right? It was like, oh, I'm frustrated with this with my husband, or I'm frustrated with this with my wife. And then you find yourself in conversations that are very unhealthy. And you can bond, honestly. You can bond emotionally with someone that you feel like you have the same gripes.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize it. It could be start out very platonic, and then it turns into, this person gets me.
Right.
Wow. This person does have interest, and it's not even a thing of like, I want to be with this person. You just find that you can conversate more easily with this person than you do your husband.
So, question.
Yes.
So, a workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Having conversations with a individual who you find yourself just keep talking to, and then you get an invite to ride a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that?
Wait, did that happen?
Yes.
With me?
Yes.
I'm like, is this a real scenario or a made up scenario?
No, it's a real scenario.
Oh, okay. You talking about, because I'm just gonna put it out there. You talking about the man at the bank when I used to work at the bank? Okay,
yes.
Okay. There was a customer at the bank.
Yeah.
Yes, and he would just come.
So let me finish.
Okay.
So is this connected to? It's definitely connected to boundaries.
Yes.
In some way.
Yes.
And was there an emotional? Or was it just more of a boundary?
For that situation was a boundary.
Just more of a boundary.
Yeah,
okay.
Like I didn't ride the motorcycle.
No, I know you didn't ride the motorcycle. No.
So I had a customer.
You better not ride his saddle.
No, babe.
Pause.
In between line. Listen, this situation was a guy that would come to the bank, and I feel like he came to the bank almost every other day. And there were times that you would come and he would be there.
But I didn't know.
I mean, I had a lot of customers. I did. Yeah. And this particular customer, I think over time, if I look back, that customer liked me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
who wouldn't?
He definitely expressed that he found me attractive.
Who doesn't?
But it never, like, he would do it very indirectly. He'd be like, I walk up the bank and this bank got the most beautiful women, especially Sharee. You know, like Sharee leading the pack and little stuff like that. But so it turned to that. It started like that. But we would talk about real estate. I mean, all kinds of stuff. And at some point, though, I realized this is not healthy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And no, it never turned it into like I looked for him or I liked him or anything like that. He was a nice guy, but many times it was very annoying, to be honest. I'll be like, all right, I got more customers. So no, but I do feel like my conversations with him over a period, and I've worked at that bank for 5 years. So you listen, you have people that come to the bank and they come, some of them come every day. Mm-hmm. So if you can imagine having a customer for 3 years that you just talk to, you know, for 15 minutes a day, you know, and the bank clears and they're like, oh, what's going on with this? What you doing this weekend? Oh, you dating? He would talk about dates. And I'd be like, well, that date didn't work out. And so you kind of build a friendship with these people, but that's not healthy. Right. It's an unhealthy boundary. Then he started asking me to do things outside of the work. Yeah. Oh, I got motorcycle. He was talking about this motorcycle he was buying, and oh, that's dope. That's amazing. I ain't gonna let my husband get in a motorcycle because he knew. But my whole thing is, you know, asking me to go ride on a motorcycle and all that is inappropriate. Yeah. And so there was something that I did in that conversation with him that allowed him to think that he can ask me, a married woman, to ride a motorcycle. Right. So there was something that I feel like I did wrong in that conversation, being too friendly.
I think one of the things that helped out was, and we can end here, one of the things that helped out is you helping me to understand what those boundaries were, and with crossing the boundaries, crossing the lines, and what the boundaries are, and different things, especially in church. Yeah. Especially in church. And now I see it.
You do?
That's clear.
Really?
Yes. It's like
clear as clear.
Yeah. You probably have to tell me that again, because I get it now.
Yeah.
Even now, as a pastor,
what do you think brought you to that place to where you could see it so clear? Just all the things that we've been through?
Yes. But not just that, but how people can twist conversations. Yeah. You could put yourself in a situation where you're really having an honest conversation about helping the lady down the street that lives down the street from her that needs food, to he offered to buy me my groceries. Like it can get really weird.
And here's the thing, especially about us being in the role that we have and being on the forefront, is that people only need a measure of truth to make it a good lie. Yeah. And people, what I have found, especially people that like gossip, they'd rather believe a lie over the truth. You know what I'm saying? And so my whole thing is, why put ourselves in situations where you don't have a witness, or you don't have, you know, you cross the boundary with someone that is, you know, ill, or, you know, needing validation from you, or is codependent or something like that. And now you find yourself having to try to defend a lie.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you guys, it's a very dangerous slippery rope, whatever it is you may want to call it. It's very dangerous, especially if you're married, of course. But even if you're just a female or a male, boundaries, period. You can be single and you still got to have boundaries. Yeah. Of course, if you're married, you still want to have boundaries. And listen to your spouse. It's okay to listen to your spouse, because your spouse bringing it up doesn't mean she's jealous. But my wife really cared and was like, I don't want your reputation. I don't want people saying this. I don't want people saying that. And I never thought it was a jealousy thing.
I'm very protective of your reputation.
She's very protective of me, period. Yes. Right? And so I appreciate that. I appreciate you helping me see that. Even as a pastor and as a leader, both of us, like, we still have to make sure that even if we're in a crowded room talking to an individual, you still may be crossing the lines.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if it's unintentional. That's why you have to have intentional boundaries.
Yeah.
If and because you can get caught up in so many different kind of conversations, multiple people, pastors. I think people in leadership, period, but mostly pastors, they are going to be confronted with more situations than any other normal person. I feel like half of the issues that we gone through, if we weren't pastoring, we would have never been in.
Agree.
Right? Like we would have never just been in, because we would have never had
More
to.
than half.
Yeah. We would have never had to counsel this person, or we would have never been in these situations, right? Yeah. So we had to learn real quickly. We had to learn real quick. I want to do a part 2 though, because I want to talk about healthy boundaries as single people while you're dating. There's so many single people asking me different questions on, is this safe? Should I do that? Should I do this? So I want to add some science behind why you need to set healthy boundaries even before you get married. So let's do a part 2.
Let's do a part 2. Listen, this is going to end our episode today. I'm AD.
And I'm Sharee.
Thank you for checking it out In Between the Lines. So next time, peace. Hey, make sure you like and subscribe.
And hit that bell icon for more updates.